When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, where are you?
In my bed.
Yeah, but in your dream, where are you?
Still in my bed. Location is based off of where I am.
So if I have a dream that I'm Superman, I'm flying, where am I?
You're not. You're in your bed unless you sleep
Okay.
like on the side of the street. Which if you do,
So,
that's
so
okay.
not.
I'm sure we could line up some help for you.
Hello?
PhD free. How's it going?
Blessed.
Good. How old do you think the Earth is?
Give or take 6 to 10,000 years old.
Give or take 6 to 10,000 years old. Great. Okay. And why do you think so?
Based off of a data and sample analysis of
Sorry,
a
the what sample analysis?
based off of a data and test analysis of
Sure.
the Y chromosome
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
attachment to the mitochondrial lineage of the Americans to conclude
Attachment to
a,
the mitochondria. So the Y chromosome doesn't interact with the mitochondria.
yeah. So wait a minute. So
I'm
you
a little
use a Y
confused.
chromosome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me finish what I was
Yeah.
saying
Go
first.
ahead.
So if you look into the actual biology of lineage and the mitochondrial D loops and RCNs, you can
You're gonna have
technically.
to break this down for me, by the way, because I am not a biologist. So
That's
continue, but
fine.
I'm gonna ask you a lot of
You can,
questions.
yeah, you can look it up, and if you.
No, I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm not gonna like read on stream. I'm not gonna go like pull up a book on stream. Like I'm gonna ask
Yeah,
you
sure.
questions. Is that fair?
Yeah, sure. So long story short, you look into the mitochondrial evolution clock rate based
Mm-hmm.
off of a sequence of an alignment of progression. For example, you.
So the
Uh,
mitochondrial DNA clock rate based off of a sequence of progression.
yep, from the D loop. So there's a
What's the
D
D
loop.
loop? Can you tell me?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. The D loop will be referenced in biology. For this specific test that I'm reading, it's based off of a tree. Actually, they took a bunch of trees,
Mm-hmm.
and with this tree, they actually measured the branches length throughout a time, and with that time, they were able to calculate the rate of progression.
The rate of
So
progression of what?
the D loop.
What does it mean that the D loop progresses? Because I just googled this just so I could know what the word means. So I guess the D loop is
Well,
are you talking about the displacement loop?
yeah, it's a displacement loop
So it's a
where
non-coding region in the circular mitochondrial DNA.
correct. Yes. Yep. Exactly.
So what do you mean by progression of the D loop?
Okay. Cool. So why the D loop is important? So at least in
Well, no,
this
what do you mean by
analysis.
the progression of the D loop?
Well, maybe I should like finish the claim first before you start,
You
correcting
did.
it.
You said that the branching is related to the progression of the D
No,
loop.
no,
So I'm
no.
asking what
No,
you
no.
mean by that.
So this claim isn't like your average sixth grade scientist. This is an actual claim, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
what I'm
So
saying,
can you explain what you mean by the progression of the D loop?
yeah, sure, man. So
Okay.
for instance, throughout the sequence alignment of the mitochondria, there's a thing called a Cambridge reference sequence, which is called the
Cambridge.
RCRS, and the D
Okay.
loop. So the D loop it's excluded due to high mutation rates and the alignment ambiguity, which
What
means that
alignment? What alignments?
the alignments of the RCRS.
Can you explain what RCRS is? I don't know what that acronym means.
Yeah, it's a revised Cambridge reference
Okay, so the
sequence.
revised Cambridge reference sequence. So we have the revised Cambridge reference sequence. Okay, and so we're talking about alignment between what and what?
Okay, so there's an RCRS, right? Do you want me to tell you what that is?
Which is a sequence of presumably genes, right?
Well, it's a sequence. Well, yeah, it's technically the first sequenced
Sure.
genes that we've seen that's been
Great. Okay,
consistent.
yeah, sure. I'm on
In our,
board. So there's an alignment between the RCRS and what?
the D loop. So they take the D loop, right?
So the
which
D
is-
loop, so the RCRS is the RCRS, I guess, is a full mitochondrial DNA sequence. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And
it
the
is.
D loop is just a part of it.
Well, yeah, the D loop
So
is the
I don't
part
understand
that's
what it would mean for a part of a thing to be aligned with the whole thing.
okay. So let me. Okay, so let me, if you don't mind, like let me tell you what this actually is before you like start critiquing it. Yeah.
I'm not
So
critiquing. I'm just asking questions. I'm
yeah,
literally not making a critique. I'm just trying to understand what it is the claim
let
you're
me
making
finish
is
my
saying.
Blitz. If you let me finish the sentence, maybe then you would understand, right? A little more, right?
So that's
So
fine. I'm happy to let you finish the sentence, but look, you're going to have to explain things because I'm not a
I,
biologist. By the way,
guarantee you, I
PhD free,
will
are you
have
a
to.
biologist?
No, I'm not a biologist. No, I'm an independent researcher.
Where'd you learn all this stuff?
I'm an independent researcher.
Where'd you learn all this stuff?
Online.
Okay, so like from like papers and stuff,
Yeah, sure. You can look. Yeah,
textbooks.
papers. No, not necessarily textbooks. Mostly papers and I have a big thing of debunking God as well. But the only difference is I came to a different conclusion than you did.
Well, so the difference, I mean, it's not like I learned all of my stuff on the internet, right? But anyway,
Well, yeah. Well, buddy, just so you know, everything you learned in college, Blitz, is also online. So don't try to
well,
like
that's not
appeal
true.
credentials. Well, can you name me one thing that you know that I can't find online?
Yeah, you can't find, well, there's a particular paper that I have that you can't find online.
Yeah, bad. Tell me what's the paper called.
Yeah, one sec.
Yeah, sure.
It's by Robin Graham. And I cited it in a recent paper. Let me just pull it up. I can never remember the
So
name.
if you cited it, it means it was already there, right?
No, I cited it because I got access to it from a library.
Okay, so if it's in a library, doesn't that mean someone else can get it?
Yeah, somebody else can. You can't get it online though.
Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, can I finish my claim, dude?
Okay,
Like without being
so we're gonna jump away from that. That's fine. Yeah, finish
Well,
your
yeah, you
claim.
pretended that you go to college, which equates to you can learn something that someone else can, which is a fallacy, which is
Well, no,
a
I
lot
mean
of
there are
people.
things that you can't learn online. Absolutely. Actually, you know what would be
Are,
very helpful?
books online?
PhD free. Not
Are
everything
books
that
online?
not everything that you would learn at a university can be found online. A lot of things
Name
can,
me
but
the
not
book.
everything.
I guarantee you, I'll find a book online. What's the book called, bud?
So to be clear, I already provided you with an example of a thing
Robin
that I
Graham
can
isn't a
reference.
book title. That's an author. Can I get the book title?
That's an Arthur. What?
You just said his name was Robin Graham. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no. I was gonna find you the name of the paper, but then you
Okay,
said that it doesn't
well,
matter because you can find it in a library.
yeah, that's still somewhere.
But a
That's not.
library isn't necessarily online.
Look, I watched your lives for a while now, dude. You appear to
hmm
credentials and as if you have the equivalence to some form of superiority, which I think is very disgraceful
Have
of
I
you.
appealed to
So
credentials at all? Actually, I think that
you're
we can
doing that
leave
right
that up to
now,
the
actually.
audience. I mean, I
You
will
did
bring
that
up my
now.
credentials insofar as I actually like can speak on things with authority in some regards,
Yeah,
specifically
buddy.
physics.
Pieces
But
of
an
paper
appeal to
doesn't
credentials
equivalent
is
to
when you
authority.
fallaciously use credentials to try to bolster an argument rather than providing an example of an
Did you not
expert
just?
that is familiar
Yeah.
with a topic being informed and speaking on that topic. That's a
All
different
right,
kind
but
of
this
thing.
happens every time, bro. Like someone comes up, actually has a like actual conversation, and not
Look,
even
look,
10 seconds you can make that
I'm
into.
happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, don't interrupt though.
So,
Try to
so before
comport
we
like for
continue,
5 seconds.
is there like a good paper that you could tell me the name of or something so I can pull it up so that I can look at it while
No,
you're
it's not.
telling me your argument?
Yeah, it's not a paper. It's just a genetic. It's just, oh, it has. It's not an actual paper name. It's just a bunch of. It's a collab of data based off of mitochondria.
Okay, so what's the what are the data points that you're using to extrapolate to 6 to 10,000 years old?
Sure. I use the. I don't know if you're familiar with Noah's family from the Bible. So I started off with
Yeah,
biblical
sure, like
chronology.
the Noah, his wife, and then a few of his children, right?
Sure, yeah. I start off with biblical chronology, and with that biblical chronology, it states that biologically, if the Bible has any form of relevance, that by definition you would be able to find how in your DNA system it would all have to come back to a female. Because if you look at the Bible's ancestries, right, Noah had daughters
What I don't know
first.
what you mean by it would that like what would all have to come back to a female?
Okay, so have you read the Bible?
Yeah. Well, I haven't read the
Okay,
Christian Bible. I've read the Hebrew Bible several times.
yeah, well, that's fine. But do you understand in the Bible how Noah had daughters first?
Sure, I'll believe that.
Yeah, so
I don't
there
remember
was
the names of Noah's
a
children, so
according to the context of the Bible, apparently there was a flood, right? And in this flood, Noah and his
mm-hmm.
family were the only ones that survived. Everyone else
Sure.
unalive.
Yep.
So if everyone else unalived, Noah and his family survived. He had daughters and sons, but daughters were first. Then that means biologically you can track the mitochondrial sequence back to a female origin. So if this is true, then you can take a sequence of data, and with the sequence of data, you can come to a conclusion based off of your own analysis to see if it's real or not real.
Yeah,
And
so what kind of data would you use to come to the conclusion that the common origin or the common female ancestor of all living humans originates from 4,000 years ago?
Yeah, sure. You have to take, well, good question. So first you have to find out where was Noah's family at least according to biblical scholars and biblical
It would have
context.
been like in somewhere in Turkey, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to look at the post-flood female ancestor, Eve, actually. So
Well, wait a minute, hold
where,
on. So we can't assume that the thing that you want to be true is true. and use
Well,
that
wait a
to
minute, wait a
inform our
minute.
data analysis. We have to
That's
look
how
at the
you.
data and see if it agrees with, a
Yeah,
4,000 or a common female ancestor
so
4,000 years ago.
so I'm assuming you know how the scientific method works, right? You
Absolutely.
should. I know Nathan Thompson schooled you on it last time you debated him. But
Sure.
so the scientific method works like this, right? You have an assumption, and with that assumption, you come to different characters of the scientific method, apply that sequence to that hypothesis. So based off of the hypothesis of
I think that you're
4,500
getting
years.
the scientific method wrong.
Wait, am I?
Yeah.
You
Scientific
want me to?
method is
Do you
first
want
you
me to
make an
offer?
observation,
Wait a
you
minute. Wait a
form
minute. Wait a
you
minute.
form a hypothesis proposing an
Wait a
explanation for that
minute.
observation.
Hold
You
on. Hold
use
on.
that
Hold on.
hypothesis to make predictions about new novel observations. You run tests or make observations to check whether the predictions of your hypothesis come true, and then you run data analysis on those tests and on those observations to verify whether or not the data agrees with your hypothesis or does not. That's the scientific method. I don't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's like a very vague scientific definition. I was actually I would expect something more.
That's actually
I would
like
say
the
high class from you, Blitz.
exact precise scientific method.
Yeah, so with
There's
the
nothing
scientific
really
method,
vague there at all.
maybe you neglected the main part, right? So in this process of this hypothesis and observations, you also have to come to a sequence of making an experiment that applies to the scientific method based off of the independent variables that you can actually
You don't need
control.
to use independent variables to do the scientific method. You can rely
So wait
solely
a
on
minute.
observation.
If I want to conduct a scientific experiment, Blitz, do I need to manipulate this experiments from other factors?
You can do the scientific method merely with observation without experimentation.
Yeah, so if I want to say that gravity is real, Blitz, would I not need
Oh,
to be
wait a
able to
minute. Is
manipulate?
this the same Free that's a flat earther?
Why does that matter?
Because it just destroys your credibility if it's true.
So wait a minute. See, that's a fallacy right there. Because I have a different point of view from you that destroys my reference. It's kind
Well,
of
no, because I've spoken with you before, and I know how
Bro, I've cooked you
incredible you
before.
are.
You ran for me
That
hundreds of
destroys your
times.
credibility.
Bro, or I'm not, dude. Can you stay on topic? Like, yo, your attention span is of a pigeon. It's very
I mean,
embarrassing.
you brought up gravity, bro. You were the one that was not staying on topic.
But you're the one with a PhD that doesn't understand the scientific method. You need to be able to have an independent variable, a dependent
No,
variable, and a control system that you
you
can
don't need
manipulate.
that for an experiment. You need that, but you don't need to run an experiment to run the scientific method. You can do it solely
Buddy,
based
I'm
off of
running an
observation if you want.
experiment in this framework that I'm using to test the to test the Y chromosome and the mitochondria. You need an experiment,
So
which
we
is what
weren't
I'm
talking about your
doing.
specific test. We were talking about the scientific
Oh
method
my
in
God.
general.
Okay, so Blitz, are you done questioning things? Can I speak for a sentence?
Yeah. So what is the hypothesis that you made? Or I guess the hypothesis is probably pretty evident, right? The hypothesis is that I guess that the female lineage traces back to a single ancestor around 4,000 years ago, right? That's probably the hypothesis.
Are you done?
That was a question.
Yeah, I said that was part of it, right? So that's what originated by actual like wanting to actually give a damn about this in the first place, right?
Well, so then what's the full hypothesis?
Yeah, the mitochondria from this root work of genetics. The mitochondria has a single consistent with one woman, and with that consistency,
4,000 years ago, right?
4,500 years ago.
Okay, sure, 4,500, sure.
And with this, I should be able to find somewhere in the world a consistency here that holds back all the way to the old African, somewhere in the African Americans, if that makes any sense.
No, can you rephrase?
Yeah, sure. The mutation rates of this mitochondria should be either fast or slow enough to compress a data timeline of 4,500 years ago, a mutation. And with that mutation rate, I should be able to observe with this experiment a tree, and the tree branches length to I would say consistent with this time period of mutation of 4,500
Okay,
years.
so it sounds like you kind of lumped in your predictions with your hypothesis, but that's fine. So your claim is that if it's the case that there is a single female ancestor that all modern human females descend from 4,500 years ago, then we should be able to see, given the mutation rates of the mitochondrial DNA, we should be able to see the deviations from that single female human ancestor that has a certain amount of mutations that line up with 4,500 years worth of mutations. Is that correct?
Yes, but also you forgot the part where this is referenced from biblical chronology, right? So with this biblical chronology, it's in reference from a timeline from the biblical flood, and from this biblical flood, the mitochondrial branches, the actual pattern of its mitochondria should reflect the migration from this location of this flood. As far as the
Well,
personnel,
do you have a hypothesis for where that flood happened? Oh, did you just like unplug your headphones or something? Okay, never mind, we're good. Because you can't say it should reflect the migration patterns if you don't have a hypothesis for what the migration patterns were. So do you have a hypothesis for what those migration patterns were? That's not based on the analysis that you've already run?
Well, yeah, from the paper, it would have to be correspondence to, it's actually based off of the Northeast Asia. And it's actually three. It's North America, Northeast Asia, and Bergia.
And what was the third one?
Berninja.
Beringia? That's Northeast Asia.
It's northeast of Asia.
Yeah, it's the same place. So that's two places?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be honest. The Bible is kind of weird, dude, because they say two things. They say they were at two locations, but regardless, in this like example that I'm referencing, it should be with one of these places, right?
Well, but the Bible refers to Mount Ararat, does it not?
Well, the paper. Well, yeah, the papers like the actual paper that's constructed is referenced from the migration from Asia to the Americas. And then I'm assuming,
right. So to be clear, do we agree that as that part of your hypothesis is that this this mitochondrial DNA, the migration rates should be able to track back to Mount Ararat, which is somewhere in Turkey or somewhere perhaps in the North Middle East?
Exactly.
Okay. So what is the evidence that supports this?
Yeah, sure. Well, that's cool. So for starters, you want to start with the very, very basics. I would say that you have to. So in this entire this little experiment, they used a tree, right?
You say they. Who's they?
The people who constructed this actual this idea. It's called the YEC, like the model proposing. The young Earth creation model. You heard of it?
So this is there should be like a paper on this, right? That I can go take a look at.
Well, no. The biology isn't a specific paperwork, but the history of Noah.
Well, I'm talking about like the place where I can go find the data analysis that shows that the mitochondrial DNA has only been mutating for around 4,500 years.
You're asking for the paper with the biology. That's not on the
data. Well, no, I'm asking for a source of the data points.
The biology I did. I constructed the biology. If you want to look up
you did the data analysis yourself?
Well, I looked up the data that they provided. That would have to be
okay. So where's the data?
Stated.
Where's the data?
Did you hear anything I just said? I did the data that they claimed in the paper based off of the biblical chronology, time sequence.
You did the data. So you sequenced the genomes?
Did I sequence the genomes? No, I took what they claimed of the locations, and with the locations,
okay, so where can I go find what they claimed?
I just told you, the YEC.
So the data that you got was from young Earth creationists, and yeah. Okay, so what's the source? Like, where? Like, can you show me? Like, what's the name of the database, or what's the name of the paper where this data is laid out? Where can I find it?
It's literally, you know, YEC is a website, right?
YEC is not a website. It doesn't have a.
Like if you Google YEC Young Earth Creation, you will find a bunch.
I know what YEC stands for. There are a lot of Young Earth Creationist websites. So if are you talking about like Answers in Genesis? Are you talking about like 100 other Young Earth Creationist websites? Because there's like 100 of them. YEC is not a single website. Websites end in .com or .net or
so
.co.
YEC is a foundation of creationisms, and they upload papers on there.
Okay, so YEC is a name of a movement.
Yes, and if you look it up right now,
what's the website that for the organization that you're referring to? What is the website URL?
There's a bunch, man. You can look up the National Center for Science and Education.
Okay, so wait, National Center for Science and Education?
Blitz, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a specific document that's reference to this alignment.
Well, you're making a big claim that's reliant on empirical facts that can be found and should be available because you didn't collect the data yourself. So it is reasonable for me to ask for the actual data where I can go look at it.
Yes, but this actual data isn't on one paper. It's in like 10 papers. It's not just a specific
List me the first three.
Sure, the NCSE.
NCSE isn't a paper.
Buddy, that's the website, and
The
there's a title
NCSE
called
is the
Young Earth
National Center for
Creationist.
Science Education. Give me a name of a
Yes.
paper.
January 22nd, 2016. There's an article of the Young Earth
January
Creationism.
22, 2016, NCSE. And I'll even type in Young Earth Creationist so I can see if I can find it. So my guess is presumably, okay, so is it this one? This is not a paper.
Okay.
Are you, wait, hold
You want
on.
me to like turn on my camera, bro, and do it for you, or what?
Hold on, I'm just gonna show everybody what we're referring to. Or what we just pulled up together. Okay, so this is what, so I typed in January 22nd, I don't know if everybody can see this, January 22nd, 2016, NCSE, Young Earth Creationist. That's what I typed in, right?
Yes,
the first
there's
link I clicked was from January 22nd, 2016, fine.
Yeah,
This is the
there's
website that I got.
people-
Is this what you're referring to?
Yeah, there's people on this article who try to debunk people like me, right? And try to like, just like I was trying to debunk the Bible, right?
Yeah, so
this
this is
website
not
on
a
here.
paper that has data in it, is it?
Go to the bottom. It literally says articles by YEC, bro. Okay. I don't know
Articles
what-
about YEC, not by
Yeah.
YEC.
Yes, but that's where I found the most biggest claims that they
Okay,
use.
so
as
where's
evidence
the
not
paper?
found.
Because you told me that this was a paper.
Are you fucking dumb?
Is this a
Buddy,
paper?
I told you 10 times this is not in a single specific.
Okay, and I asked you for the first three.
The first three documents.
Yeah,
That's
first three.
one.
Just give me the first three papers that you can think of that you relied on to construct your analysis here.
Blitz, read the first paragraph, Blitz.
When most people hear the word creationism, they probably think of the variety called Young Earth Creationism. Young Earth Creationists adopt a method of biblical interpretation which requires that the Earth be no more than 10,000 years old and that the 6 days of creation described in Genesis each lasted for 24 hours. Young Earth Creationists believe that the origin of Earth, the universe, and various forms of life, etc., are all instances of special creation. The doctrine of special creation involves direct divine intervention, suspending the laws of nature to achieve a greater result. This doctrine contrasts with the view common amongst theistic evolutionists that God can work through natural laws. I read the first paragraph. Now, are you going to give me three papers that you relied on to construct your data analysis to come to the conclusion that you've come to?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you.
Okay, so give me three papers, please. Give me three papers.
Sure, I give you the genome document. Yeah, I don't know. Wait a minute. So are you doing the research for me, or will I gonna give you the research?
I'm asking you to give me the papers that you're relying on for your analysis.
Okay, 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Quick, let me just type this into ChatGPT really quick.
Yeah, good one, Blitz. As you can see, that's an actual thing. It would be ChatGPT, buddy.
Young Earth Creationists exist, obviously. Young Earth Creationists do not have data, at least, none that I've ever seen.
Buddy, it's a movement. Buddy, YEC is a movement.
I understand. Young Earth Creationists, I understand its movement. You called it an organization. It's like a ideology. It's a movement. You can call it whatever you want. But you said that you did science and you relied on data, and I want to know where you got that data from, since you didn't construct it yourself.
Buddy, first of all, I don't have a genome analysis. I don't do that, right? So
okay, so then what data did you use to conduct your analysis?
I took papers and I took their work and I constructed it. I don't know
so give me the papers that you took that you used that you combined and synthesized.
Kind of like what you do, right? It's the same thing. You take articles that are already there, you pretend you actually wrote the document, look smart, and then you actually read it on your TikTok to make people concede to your actual movement, right? It's the same process, right?
No, I've never referred to my own work in TikToks and used it as an argument.
You literally take other people's hypotheses and you write your own paper based off your own summary. That's literally what you do. You want me to show you a video of yourself right now?
It's not. I don't know what video. Wait, are you talking about the videos that I make when I talk about other people's work?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't talk about my own work. I talk about other people's work because I don't talk about my work on my TikTok account. But you were referring to your own work, so how is this the same?
That's exactly what I just said. You don't do your own work, right? That's my
do. I just don't talk about it on TikTok. So
exactly.
To be clear,
as far as I'm aware,
free.
I have no work
So free. You said that you're relying, that you did your own research here. You took data from other work, which is fine. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to synthesize research. You took research, other people's research, and then you synthesized it to come to a novel conclusion, which is a valid form of doing research, by the way. I just want to know, what was the research that you synthesized? Where can I go find these papers that you used to synthesize and come to your own conclusion?
Did you hear me 5 minutes ago when I said I was getting it for you?
Yeah, and you were stalling because you were typing it into ChatGPT. I understand.
Yeah, it's not ChatGPT. Dude, what the hell? Why are you so upset with ChatGPT?
Because I know that you don't actually think for yourself.
You know, I don't think for myself. Says the guy who believes in NASA, right? Okay, cool.
I don't know what it means to believe in NASA.
Don't you believe in
NASA
NASA
is
and
an
their
organization that
credibility?
exists.
Don't you believe in their credibility?
Do I think that they are credible? I think that, well,
Oh yeah, you
right
do
now
think
I
that.
don't think that
You
they're
do
very
believe in
credible.
NASA. Oh,
I
so
think
now
that in
they're
the
not
past they've
credible.
been very credible, though, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, Chow. Everyone who's watching, 1,000 people watching, NASA is not credible anymore, according to PhD Blitz. So please stop
Yeah,
believing
well,
NASA.
I mean, considering that the head of NASA is a political
That's what
appointee
she
rather
said.
than somebody who's interested in science, yeah, I'm not so sure
Oh,
whether I would
so
trust their
politically,
conclusions
so
right
it's
now.
politically not credible. So politically it's not credible, but not scientifically.
Well, no, I just don't know if I can trust the head of NASA right now.
Okay, anyways, here's the paper, man. Here's the
What's the
let me see
name?
here. Let me get it. I got on the name. Here it goes. Here it is. I got Nathaniel T. Jeanson. Here's one of them, and then the other one is
And what's the name of the article?
it's gonna be. Oh, here it is. The title is gonna be called the the Y chromosome analysis.
All right, let's see if we can find it.
It's did you get the author's name right? The researcher's author's name
Yeah,
right?
Nathaniel T. Jeanson. Yep.
Yep. It should be, and then there should be
I found
another
it.
paper correspondent named
Here,
Daryl
right?
Roberts.
Let's start with this one, right?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, and then if you want.
Okay,
Sure.
so let's just look through here. So they have some, I guess they're talking, this is a table that says similar structures in mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome trees. So this is the percent African and long branch clusters. Interesting.
Yeah,
There are haplogroups I guess number of haplogroups. Percent Asian plus Native American and node neighboring long African branch clusters, which are both close to 100%.
Try actually reading it, Blitz. How crazy would that be if you actually read it?
So here's what's crazy, and here's what everybody should recognize. This was published in Answers Research Journal. Now we can go look up whether this journal is legit, right? And I'll give you a hint, it's not, because it's hosted by Answers in Genesis, right? Answers Research Journal is
when you say legit, pause.
it is considered legit depending on your definition of. We don't have to use the AI overview if you don't want to. We can just go to Wikipedia.
So wait a minute. How are you defining legit? What does that mean?
Taken seriously by the scientific community.
Oh
This is
my
an open
fucking
access creation
God,
science
dude.
journal
You
published by
always
Answers in
appeal to
Genesis,
that shit,
a
dog.
fundamentalist Christian apologetics organization. So what I would like data that the rest of the scientific community agrees is reasonable and methodologically correct. If this was good, if this was a good analysis, you would have expected that he would have been able to submit it to a legit journal rather than Answers in Genesis.
Wait a minute. I'm actually trying to wait. That's the crazy part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things like this and Jay Duncan's work, right? I'm trying.
I don't know who Jay Duncan's is.
He's someone who proposes a substitution for gravity to generate the constant. But what I'm saying
I have
is
no idea
this.
who that is.
Didn't expect you to. So this is what happens, right? So I show you documents of people who actually get the genome samples of 100. I think in this paper was 1,000 genomes he took samples of. So this is what happens. They do
Let's
it
actually
because
see.
it's not published by the scientific community. You cry and you bitch about it, dog. Right? That's what happens every time you appeal to the scientific.
I don't actually think. Did he actually collect the samples himself?
He's a journalist, buddy. Obviously not.
He's he's a journalist. He's not a scientist.
He's the journalist. He looked up the samples, bro.
Wait, so he's not a scientist?
Do you want me to repeat myself or no?
I'm just confirming because it's really dumb to say that when you're trying to refer to a scientific paper.
Okay, wait, one second.
Wait a minute, isn't this kind of weird? So this guy publishing an Answers. Hold on. Let's chill. PhD free, chill. This guy's publishing an Answers Research Journal, and he works at Answers in Genesis. Doesn't that seem like a conflict of interest?
Buddy, can you chill out for 5 seconds?
Can you answer that question? Doesn't this seem like a conflict of interest?
I have a PhD in molecular biology from Harvard.
Okay,
right?
Does this seem like a conflict of interest to you?
Can you listen for 5 seconds?
Why is he publishing in a journal that he works for?
That he works for, buddy. He has a PhD. But he has a PhD in molecular biology from Harvard.
You're not answering my question. Why is he publishing in a journal that he works for?
Wait. He has a PhD in molecular biology.
That's great.
What are you
Can you answer
about?
my question?
Why should I care? Is the work real or
Because
not?
it's a
That's the real
conflict of
problem.
interest.
No,
Did he
no, no.
actually?
Where it's
Does he actually
uploaded,
cite the conflicts of interest
buddy,
anywhere in
where
his
it's
paper?
uploaded. You said what?
Does he actually cite conflicts of interest anywhere in his paper? Because that's like a thing that like scientists do. Look, conflict. No, he doesn't cite conflicts of interest anywhere in his paper. Even though he's publishing in a journal that's owned by the company he works for. That's called a conflict of interest. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why while I was in the Czech Republic. So I was in the Czech Republic. While I was in the Czech Republic, I worked at a university that was.
It's funded. Wait a minute. It's an independent.
Sorry, I'm
thing,
in the
dude.
middle. I'm in the middle of a sentence. I worked at a university
Bro, you
whose
run. You
I
neglect.
worked at a university whose chief editor was also the department chair of my university, of my of the department that I worked in. He was the department head. And there's a big journal that he was also the chief editor of. And so I never submitted a paper to that journal because it would have been a conflict of interest. Why is this guy publishing in a journal that he works for? Isn't that suspicious?
Wait, is that a crime? You don't actually
It's
have
bad scientific practice, and it shows that we probably shouldn't trust this. That, combined with the fact that the journal itself is not reputable amongst scientists, and coupled with the fact that it doesn't seem like he's actually willing to cite his conflict of interest anywhere, that calls into question the validity of this analysis.
Yeah, wait a minute. The only thing that he actually referenced was the AIG's donor base, the people that actually donated, which is independent people that supported his independent study.
I'm sorry, this is his address. His address is located at Answers in Genesis.
Buddy, did you hear anything I just said? You asked for conflicts of interest. The only thing
this
that's
is a conflict of interest.
The only thing documented is the funding.
You're right. He didn't document his conflict of interest. That's a problem.
Did I deny that?
So you agree that's a problem that calls into question the legitimacy of the research.
So yeah, let's do this is what you do every time, right? So you skip past all of the biology and the words that you're too lame and lazy to learn. So then you just critique things based off of what you're used to because it's uncomfortable. And
So
makes
there is a first past the post criterion that we should all use when investigating research, and that is that we should look for conflicts of interest. B, we should look for the credibility of where the publication is found, and C, look into the credibility of the person who's publishing. These are all important things to look into when examining a paper, especially when examining a paper in a field that is not your field of expertise.
Wait,
now,
go
ahead.
PhD in molecular biology. How the fuck is that not his field?
No, when I'm examining a paper that's in a field that's not in my area of expertise, the things that are the most reliable way of determining whether the paper will be reliable, whether the paper is accepted by other scientists, etc., are those three questions. This is not in my field of expertise, but what I can do is I can look for conflicts of interest. I can look for credibility, and I can look for legitimacy of the sources of the source of the data. And it looks like this paper fails on all of them.
Bro, Blitz, I'm gonna be honest, dude. This is what happens. You're too lazy to learn anything new. If you want, I can teach you the big words you don't compute, right? So if you want to learn what a D loop is or what a genome is, take you back to 8th grade biology. We can do that. Instead of you shitting on all of his hard work and research that he's done.
Well, no, I mean, like, if this was good scientific research, why wouldn't he just publish it in a genetics journal?
You claim to have a PhD. Can you pretend and act like you have one and stop having it so much?
Why wouldn't he just publish this in a genetics journal or in Nature if it's really big? If it's a really big impact.
If you have a PhD, why can't you read?
Well, first of all, the paper's 30 pages. I'm not going to read that on stream with you. I just wanted to look at the paper.
So you're going to make a big claim say this does not any evidence.
No, what I'm saying is that it calls into the question the validity of the paper because of the conflicts of interest, because of the lack of legitimacy of the journal, and because of the lack of legitimacy of the person, right?
So you're going to run. That's what you're saying.
Do you understand that when you publish in a trash journal that your papers are taken less seriously?
Buddy, it's not published and validized by your Gloobers.
Validized, right? Yep, validized.
So because your Gloobers, right, your Glober donuts didn't appeal to this, therefore it's irrelevant.
This is nothing. You know that the young Earth creationists who run Answers in Genesis think that the Earth is a globe?
What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Your proposition states that
this guy thinks the Earth is a globe.
That's fine. He probably doesn't study physics. He has a degree in molecular biology. That's irrelevant. Hey, do you understand biology?
I mean, I understand biology at like a high school level.
Yeah, what's a genome?
A genome is the sequence of nucleotides that make up the instruction set that build an organism.
Okay, and what do genomes do?
Genomes encode proteins that then are used in functions in the cell.
Okay, so if you understand what that is, why are you so scared to read the actual anything?
I'm
You
not
haven't read
afraid to read this
you haven't
paper.
read
It's
anything,
30
dog.
pages long.
You haven't read anything though. That's the shit that flabbergasts me, dog.
Because
The
look, I don't
inquiry-
need to read this paper to know that there's something suspicious about it because there's a huge conflict of interest.
Bro, Blitz, you're the type of guy. If Jesus came back down, you wouldn't go see him because you're too lazy to pay for the plane ticket, dog.
So
That's
just
the
to be
kind of
clear,
dude you are.
let's just look and just see if like this is a reasonable journal. So
It's a
the editorial board
well-constructed
is not
analytical
disclosed.
document.
Authors are able to publish under a pseudonym. In order to be published in the journal, one's views must be aligned with the publisher's literalist interpretation of the Book of Genesis. It's weird.
Well, that sounds consistent.
Anyone working with AIG must sign a statement of faith, including a declaration reading no apparent perceived or claimed evidence in any field, including history and chronology, can be valid if it contradicts the scriptural record. It's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, if you want to make a paper about the Bible, maybe you shouldn't use modernity of science to debunk the Bible. That sounds kind of
While the
consistent,
journal
doesn't it?
undergoes a peer review process, it is subject to extreme publication bias since the journal's reviewers are selected from a pool of individuals who support the positions taken by the journal. Weird. As a result, members of the scientific community are excluded from the review process. Also weird. The concept of faith checking is also included in the review process.
Dude, I can do the same thing to your NASA paperwork right now.
fascinating.
Watch this. Watch this. Want me to do the same thing to your NASA work?
In the
Alright,
words
watch
of
this,
skeptic
watch this,
Stephen Novella, the journal's peer review process is worthless as it serves only to give a false imprimatur of
Blitz,
scientific
Blitz,
legitimacy to religious anti-scientific
When you're
ideology.
done, I'm gonna do the same thing with yours. Ready?
So like this just seems like it's not really taken seriously by anybody except fundamentalists. Which,
Well, no,
you know,
not
if your
necessarily.
goal is
You're
to
chronologist,
convince
actually.
the wider community that you're actually spreading what's true about the world,
It's not about
if that's your
spreading, it's
goal,
like testing.
if
these
your
hypotheses.
goal is to like establish what's true about the world, you shouldn't be afraid of skeptics because the truth speaks for itself. You shouldn't have to be able to prevent scientists from taking place in the review process.
Blitz, can I ask you a genuine question, buddy?
You can ask me whatever you want, pal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, check this out, man. So, under the consensus that the modernity of science comes to realization that A, you come from a single-celled amoeba from monkey ass or some weird meteorite from this space that you actually haven't proven yet, by the way. If this is
So
real,
is this supposed to be a
one second,
Steelman
here comes the
representation
question.
of the
Hold on,
scientific
here comes the
mainstream
question.
view?
Yeah, that's actually
That's supposed to be a
precisely what it is,
Steelman?
right? Yeah, so your modernity of science tells you that like by definition, you're nothing. You came from literally something they can't explain, but you're gonna go to nothing. That's what
Is
everything
that supposed to be a
comes from.
Steelman?
That's not steamer. That's actually precisely when the conjunction.
You're right,
of
it's
the-
not a Steelman, it's a straw man.
No, not even actually. Strawman is when you change the topics to change the the
No, a
viewers.
straw man is when you misrepresent a view. That's what a
And then
straw
you
man
go
is.
ba-
A red
yeah, and
herring
you-
is when you change the topic.
A straw man is when you misrepresent a view and then you make a false analogy to that false view.
No,
That's a
you don't
straw
have to
man.
make an analogy. It's just when you misrepresent a view and then you argue against that view. So you've
This is
misrepresented
what
the
I
scientific
just said. You
consensus. The scientific
misrepresented
consensus says
you.
nothing about us being meaningless or us having, any
Oh,
of
it
that stuff.
doesn't? Oh,
No,
it doesn't? Where do you guys come from?
I don't see how that's related to whether or not we have meaning.
Well, you just said the majority of science doesn't state that you guys are meaningless. So enlighten me. Where did you come from?
That
Where does
question
the
seems
science-
unrelated to whether or not humans have meaning.
Answer the question. Where did human beings come from according to the majority of science?
We evolved.
From?
Other organisms.
From?
Other organisms.
From?
There's organisms all the way back. And then we get to a first
From-
organism.
To?
Uh,
What
to-
organism
to
was
what?
this? What organism was this?
Universal. It's called Luca. Last universal
Like
common
I just
ancestor.
said, everything in modern of science states that you came from a single-celled amoeba, and then you evolved
Well,
to
it
some
wasn't an amoeba.
monkey fish or some shit, right? And then you evolved to this human being that has consciousness, which, by the way, isn't in the periodic table, but somehow we still experience something that's
Okay.
not a scientific paradox.
But
Which,
so
by
what does
the
this have to do with whether or not we have meaning?
Well, no, the point is this, right? So
Because
you're crying.
so do you admit that you
people-
strawmanned?
No, that's not straw man. I told you
So
why.
where in any of this conversation that we just had did the scientific mainstream consensus come to the conclusion that humans have no meaning?
The part where everything about a human being comes from a single cell amoeba from
How
an
does that
accident
imply
in a
that
big
humans
bang.
have no meaning? And how is that the
Wait,
scientific
wait, wait,
consensus? Can you
wait, wait,
provide
wait,
evidence for that, please?
wait. Aren't you the same guy that argues normatives? Aren't don't you do that when you try to debunk God, pretend God's not real? That's you, right? That was you.
No,
Oh,
I don't
that's
really do
not
them.
what
I don't
you.
really do the moral debate.
Wait. That's bullshit. I've literally seen you live 2 days ago. You were using the most
I
basic
wasn't
normative.
live 2 days ago.
Wait. So 3 days ago?
Maybe. I don't know
Oh,
what
okay.
live. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
did the flat. No, I think I did the flat Earth live 3 days
No, you
ago.
didn't, bro.
Let me
I
double
was
check.
literally watching your live, dude.
Let me
You
double
used
check.
the most basic arguments
So
to
the
pretend
lives that
God's not real.
oh no, you're right. You're right. I did do the God debate on Friday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I guess I'm not as local as you think,
Oh no,
right?
no, I'm sorry. No, Friday was the
Wait. So watch
14th,
this.
right? No, I did the
Watch
flat
this.
Earth debate on
So
Friday. I did the God debate
what's
on Thursday.
Thursday?
So that was 4 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
where in modern science do we
you
get
don't.
the claim that humans are meaningless?
All right. 1 second. 1 second, man. Let me actually like crack my fingers because you're probably gonna run from this.
Your like delusional laughter, by the way, is really embarrassing and doesn't
Says
make
the
you look
guy.
like you know
Says
what you're
the guy
talking
that
about.
says the guy that's so confounded that he evolved from a single cell amoeba, right? That's why I'm laughing because it's so the how like intense
Incredulity is
it
not a good
is.
argument, Free.
Bro, can you wait a minute, wait a minute. Can you let me finish, right? So this is what
No,
happens. Let's,
I'm gonna cut you
can
off if you
you,
say something
you
stupid.
not
I'm
can't
sorry.
finish. Okay, so now you're gonna cut someone off and say something stupid because it appeal
Yep.
to your mindset and worldview, correct?
Well, I'll cut you off if you say something stupid. Yeah. Or
Sure.
sometimes I'll just let you cook yourself.
Stupid subjective, just so you know, dude. So I could say it's stupid to
Not in this
state that you
case.
evolved from a single celled amoeba, and from the single celled amoeba, right? You somehow you got convicted of consciousness, which by the way is
Sorry,
it's
got
impossible.
convicted of consciousness? What does that mean?
How do you get consciousness? How is that
I don't know.
possible?
I don't understand neuroscience particularly well.
Okay, but what is consciousness? Can you enlighten us?
I don't even have a good definition of what consciousness is. I don't think anybody
Okay,
does. I think this
so
is a
you
real
don't know
problem.
what consciousness is, but you have the audacity to tell us that God's not real, and you get paid for it. These
Yeah, these
morons
two
pay
things are
you.
unrelated.
These idiots pay you
Consciousness can
money to
exist.
take away
You
their
could
hope.
even be an idealist. You could
It's
even be an
hysterical.
idealist and be an atheist. Or
That's not what
you
I'm
could be a
asking you.
theistic naturalist.
Is
Both
that what
are
I asked you?
possible views. Well,
Is
you
that what I asked you,
implied.
Blake?
So Free, what you said is that you don't even know what consciousness is, yet you dare to say that God isn't real, but those two things are unrelated.
Really? Wait. That's a
They're
claim.
the
Give me the
view
argument for that.
the
Give
view
me
of
the argument for
atheism
that.
and views on atheism. Yeah, I just did. Views on atheism and views on
That's the
consciousness are
claim.
not
That's
intrinsically
not the
tied
argument.
together. I gave you examples of ways that
That's
you can
the
be a
claim.
theistic naturalist, and I gave you examples of ways that you can be
Okay.
a theistic naturalist and an atheistic idealist. These are both views that people hold, and
Oh
if you
my
can
God,
hold
dude.
those views, then that means that you can have no idea what consciousness is if you're, say, a theistic naturalist, and still believe in God. Or you can have what you believe is a complete worldview that makes sense of consciousness and not believe in God. Those
Okay.
the
So
two
wait a
ideas are
minute.
not related to each other.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you're telling me something that isn't on Earth or on a periodic table can give us an experience outside of Earth, but at the same time, you're telling me that there's no other experience outside of Earth?
You seem confused. Do you want to try to phrase that again in a sentence
Can
that
you try
makes
to
sense?
comprehend? Hey, listen, try to comprehend, right? You're the one with the PhD here, right? How can something that's not on Earth's periodic table allow us to have an experience, quote unquote, consciousness, but also come to the realization that there is no other things than Earth, aka heaven or God or hell?
Do you think that was a coherent sentence? Because I like caught it for the first half, but then you just kind of lost it
Okay,
afterwards.
so one more
So it
time.
sounds like what you're
Try to
saying is,
check
how
that,
can you
buddy.
have consciousness if consciousness isn't on the periodic table? Is that
Wait, do you agree
the
that
question?
do you agree that consciousness isn't material?
I don't know. I lean towards consciousness being a emergent property of material things.
Wait. So wait a minute. It's an emergent property from material things. So
So I lean that way. That seems plausible to me.
wait a minute. Please explain how that's even possible. How can one be dead, have the same material, but they don't have
Dead things
consciousness?
are not materially identical to living things.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, so dead things, so in order to be living, that's like a process. There's chemicals that are being exchanged between neurons. There's, chemical, like static chemical gradients that exist between like inside and outside of cell walls. These kinds of things are present in living things, but they're not present in dead things.
Wait a minute. So you're saying right now the brain activity, consciousness, things that have non-matter can give us this. I think we
That's
can
a
all agree.
claim. How do you know they have non-matter?
Wait. So does consciousness matter?
Well, under a materialist or physicalist worldview, the idea is that consciousness arises or emerges from material things. Yeah.
Yeah, just because something emerges doesn't conclude that it's material. You understand that, right?
I mean, it kind of does, but it really depends on what you mean by material.
Really?
We
It
can get to
kinda
like a
does,
semantic
doesn't
point, but
sound-
like if you grant that consciousness emerges from the material, then that's like then consciousness is material in the same way that like Microsoft Word is material.
Okay, so wait a minute. So something that is non-physical can create this subjective experience.
Well, that's a claim again, claiming that it's non-physical.
Well,
Do you want to demonstrate that?
you have no evidence against that, though.
If you're going to make a claim, you better provide an
Yeah,
argument
sure.
for
Yeah,
it.
sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, what's the
Consciousness isn't
argument?
tangible. Is consciousness tangible?
I'm sorry, an argument isn't a question.
Well, I just said consciousness is intangible. Then I asked you, do you think consciousness is
Okay,
tangible?
why would I think that consciousness isn't tangible? In fact,
Okay, do you know the
arguably, it's the only thing
definition of
that is
tangible?
tangible because I can
Oh my
experience it
God, do you
directly.
know the definition? What's the definition of tangible?
Being able to experience something directly. At least that's the way that I typically use it. Do you mean something
Yeah,
else?
yeah, yeah. So tangible means something that can be touched, felt, or physically perceived.
Yeah, so I can feel my own
physically.
consciousness. Can you not?
Okay, wait. You can feel your own consciousness? What
Yeah,
the hell does
in
that
fact,
mean?
that's all I ever do.
Wait. Explain this. How do you feel something that's non-tangible?
You're begging the question. You're assuming it's non-tangible in order
No.
to prove that you can't feel it.
Well, demonstrate how you're feeling it then.
I'm having, like, for example, when I have emotions, what am I feeling?
Consciousness.
So I can't feel my consciousness.
Are you like listening to anything I just said?
So look, would you say that
You
having
feeling an
emotions,
emotion of
that having
happiness and
feelings is a manifestation of consciousness?
Oh my God, dude. One more time. Blitz. If you cry and you're sad or you're happy, right? And you love, you got the butterflies in your belly, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to perceive this, including your hands, when you look at your hands, do you agree that you have to see the material world?
So if I want to see the material, if I want to see my hands, yeah, of course, the material world
so
should
this
exist. Hold on, I'm
consciousness
sorry, I
is-
was not done. I was in the middle of a
It was
sentence.
a yes or no. I
However,
need a sentence.
however, in order to feel the butterflies in your stomach when you meet a cute girl, that doesn't require the external world. You could trigger that just by, poking at your brain.
And what scientific premise is poking at the brain?
I don't even know what that question means.
Wait, what scientific premise are you saying? Da 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 da. It's poking at the brain. What does that even mean?
Look, so there are external experiences that we have, or rather experiences that we have that rely on external stimuli, like when you see things, and there are internal experiences that we have. And these are like, the feeling of giddiness that you experience when you meet a cute girl or something like this, right? And so the external things rely on, the external world existing. The internal things arguably don't.
Okay, so what's this connection to consciousness?
The experiences, at least my understanding, what we call consciousness is like the collection of experiences that we have. Experiences, memories, thoughts, right? And so it's part of that is the experiences. And if you can have internal experiences, then you are feeling something, which is part of your consciousness.
Okay, like I said, can you feel something without consciousness?
Do you mean feel in like a physical sense or feel in like an emotional
Can you
sense?
feel anything? Can I feel mad? Can I cry and feel sad without the ability of consciousness?
No, of course you can.
Okay, cool. So do you
course
agree
you can,
that
sorry.
at some level consciousness affects the material world?
My claim is that the consciousness emerges from the material. So like
Okay.
I'm not even that surprised. I wouldn't even be that surprised if consciousness was material.
Wait, what? So now you're saying that consciousness is that material?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
So now you're saying that you wouldn't be surprised if you crying and you're being mad and happy, that is
If those
tangible evidence
are
of consciousness.
if those are like materially realized, or if those are materially realized phenomena, yeah.
Okay, hold on, dude. Okay, so wait a minute. So with everything you're saying, you're under the premise that something non-physical, which I'm assuming under my claim, right? I'm saying that something
Yeah, I'm not
non-physical.
granting that premise that it's non-physical.
Wait,
You have to
when you're
defend that
sleeping-
premise.
When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, where are you?
In my bed.
Yeah, but in your dream, where are you?
Still in my bed. Location is based off of where I am.
So if I have a dream that I'm Superman, I'm flying, where am I?
You're not. You're in your bed unless you sleep
Okay.
like on the side of the street. Which, you know, if you do, that's
So
okay.
now,
I'm sure we could line up some help for you.
yeah. So wait a minute. So if I'm sleeping, I'm guy's an asshole, dog. So you're sleeping.
Hmm.
You're dude. The way that you're so smooth, you're such a dick, dog. So when you're sleeping and you dream, right? You see Superman,
Hmm.
right? Do you agree that in this state of consciousness, you're somewhere else other than your bed?
No, you are in your bed.
Not physically,
You might think that you're somewhere else. That doesn't
consciously.
mean that you
Not
actually are.
physically, not physically,
I don't know
consciously,
where.
you're
I
somewhere
don't
else.
know where. I don't know what where means if not physically.
Okay, so wait a minute. So do you disagree that you can be in a coma and be in a different realm than a physical
Yes,
state?
I disagree. I don't think that that's a thing that's possible.
So wait a minute. So when you're in a coma and you're dreaming about someone or being somewhere you're not physically, where are you?
You are wherever you are physically. Where
Okay, so
points to location. It doesn't point to
but
where. It doesn't point to a perceived location.
wait, so
It
do you
doesn't point
disagree
to
that you
some
can?
hallucination that you're having. Where it points to a location of an object. The object in this case being like your brain or like your head
Wait a
or your
minute. So
body.
you're disagreeing. So you're telling me right now, physically I'm in a chair. I'm so hypothetically I fall asleep in my chair.
Mm-hmm.
Physically I am in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Consciously I am not in the chair because I'm dreaming about being Superman. So do you disagree that there's a different realm of experience,
Yes, I
conscious?
disagree.
Okay, cool. Then if you're disagreeing, then how can I experience this then?
You can have experiences of things that aren't real.
And I'm asking you if I'm dreaming and I'm in a state
Yeah,
of sleep.
so when you are dreaming and you think that you are Superman flying through the air, that's not real
Okay, that's not real for who? Because it's real to the
for
person dreaming.
anyone.
Can I give you an example? Can I tell you how this is correlated? This is how it's correlated.
Sure. I'm sure
Yeah,
that this is going to somehow go back to your proof that like the earth is 6,000 or 6,000 to 10,000 years old,
yeah,
but
but
sure.
no, this is going to correlate to what you said. You originally stated that you personally think that consciously, when people cry and have butterflies, that's in your worldview. You could potentially see this as evidence how consciously can kind of be tangible, correct?
That was not really a good representation of my worldview. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if consciousness could be realized by a physical system.
Cool. So if I'm having a dream that I'm getting hurt, and in this dream my physical body is shaking and I'm sweating, do you agree
Hmm.
that something that's not physically happening is disrupting my physical world?
So what is disrupting your? No, I would say no. And I'll explain.
Wait a
I'll
minute.
explain.
So I'm
I'm
having a
explaining. I'm
nightmare.
answer.
I'm
So
having a nightmare.
look, I'm being super good faith. I answered your yes or no question, and now I'm going to explain my answer. So I would say no. It's not something non-physical that's affecting your body. It's your brain perceiving things that aren't there and responding accordingly, and that's all physical stuff.
So you're perceiving something that's non-material, correct?
No, you're perceiving something that doesn't exist. Your brain is mistaken.
Okay, so so wait a minute. So our brains are mistaken.
Yes. When
Okay,
you're
so do you agree
dreaming,
that?
your brain is mistaken about the things that you are perceiving. Yeah.
All right, cool. So if that's true, what state of realm is one in during a dream?
You're on Earth.
What state of realm consciously? Obviously, your
I have
physical
no
body.
idea what that means.
Because I'm trying to show you how there's a
You're in
distinction
a
of
particular phase of sleep. I think it's called REM sleep.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
your
So
brain is
listen,
doing. Your brain
can you
is
tell about
your mind isn't somewhere else. Like, what are you talking about?
buddy? Can you try to like track the conversation? My
Can you
entire
try to
premise is
like not assume your worldview before you
yeah,
ask
yeah.
questions?
Yeah. Can you try to like comprehend what I'm saying? So my entire argument here is that we have a non-material experience,
Yeah, prove it.
consciousness. That's a non-material experience. So my argument is this non-human or physical material experience is under the predication that this
Is
tributes
under
to some
the. Do
form
you
of a god. You know what the word predication is? You want me to
The
read you the
sentence that you
definition?
said is under a predication is not is not a grammatically correct
Buddy, the
sentence.
argument is on. Try to, buddy. Oh my God,
It's
track the
hard to
argument.
look, Free. I'm being totally
Nah,
honest with you. It's really hard to follow your arguments when your
you do
grammar is
this
all
to
sorts of mixed
everyone.
up.
Says the guy who believes in Bigfoot, right, dude? So
No, I don't
buddy.
believe in Bigfoot. What?
Something
You're the conspiracy
non-material.
theorist. What?
I'm the conspiracy buddy. You think water can stick to a ball? You're high. So
I mean, you are
listen
a
to me, buddy.
conspiracy theorist. Like, you have to recognize that that's the
Well, so
case.
are you. You believe that water is upside down
I don't
in
think so.
Antarctica, right?
That's not really a conspiracy. I'm not proposing
Well, it's
that
not
there's some giant
conspiracy.
lie that people are hiding from us, right?
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. So you believe all YouTube videos, then, yeah?
No,
So
I
is it
never said that.
the same government you trust that doesn't release the Epstein files is the same government you trust to tell you the shape of your Earth. That comes to the conclusion that God is not real.
That's a great straw man. None of those things are true characterizations of my views, though.
So your government lies to us. Do we agree that the government lies to the people?
Sometimes.
Cool. Then how are you differentiating which lie is real from not?
I don't have to rely on the government to examine the claims that are made. I can examine the claims that are made on their merits, and I can examine the data that they present. And I can see if that checks out with other data that I'm familiar with. I can see if that checks out with my own knowledge base. I can examine the data independently.
So you don't believe in NASA?
I don't have to believe in NASA. I can check the data myself.
Okay, so what shape is Earth?
It's obviously a sphere.
Because you've seen it yourself, or because your data tells you that?
Because the data says that.
Okay, so if the data tells me that I'm actually in a dream, but I'm having
What
a
data
physical
tells you? What data tells you that you're in a separate realm?
Well, do you agree or disagree that I'm in a different state of consciousness when I'm dreaming?
You're in REM sleep.
Which is the difference?
That's like definitionally unconscious, by the way.
Exactly.
So it's not a different state of consciousness.
That's a different state of consciousness.
He's been live for about an hour. I think we're done.